Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, my name is David and I'm an actuary working in the greater New York area. I'm doing a series called Python tutorial designed for actuaries, and in this second video I'll be covering how to replace Excel VBA with Python. Actuaries use a lot of Excel VBA to update spreadsheets, so I'm going to show you guys how it is much easier to do it with Python. And I'll be covering two things: how to install different packages that we need, and second, doing an actual example that I have created for this tutorial. And before we jump in, if you don't have Python or VS Code installed, please watch my first video where I should have a link somewhere up here. So, and let's get started. So this is where I have my Python code saved at the desktop in lesson 2. So you guys can open it in VS Code. So go to VS Code, File, and Open, and just have to open the directory that you're going to be working in. So once you have that, before getting started, I'm going to show you guys how to first install the packages that we need. So go to the terminal window and command prompt if you're using Windows. And in your terminal window, type in pip install, pip, and I'm going to type in Pandas, Openpyxl, and XLRD. So these are the packages that I'll be using today, but I already installed them before this tutorial. But please, if you don't have these packages, please install them before you start with the example. So the way you can download multiple packages is just having a space right after it, so you don't have to type in the 3 different commands. So once you have your packages installed, now let's look at the code itself. So in my example, I have a spreadsheet called summary as of 12/23/2020. And to show you guys what it looks like, basically it's a table where you calculate a present value of different cash flows. So the first tab contains all the cash flows by month. So, and this is the cash flows I have, and this is just a dummy variable that I've created for the survival function, and basically calculating the decremented cash flows. So I have it out to 360 months, so that's 30 years. So once you have that, and next I have the inputs. So this is where I'm going to have 2 inputs where the Python is going to save over and automatically paste in the inputs in cell B2 and the range here where the rates inputs are. So basically what it does on the right is doing a linear interpolation in order to calculate the valuation discount factor, which is done here. So this formula should be pretty straightforward, but if you guys are curious, please take a look at the formulas, and if you have any questions, just let me know. And I got the treasury rates. This is the source where I got it from, so just copied it manually for now. And this is the summary tab where I have the present value, where it's just taking some product of all the cash flows in here, and also taking the valuation discount factor from here. So pretty simple, nothing too complicated, and the valuation date, it's here. So after I run this code, basically you should update the valuation date and also the rates that we have grabbed from the treasury. So this is what the spreadsheet looks like, and I'm going to show you guys also the inputs. So I just copied in directly from the Treasury website, but I'm also going to show you guys how I can do this using Selenium, which is one of the web scraping packages that I use on fairly often. So this is the Excel macro py. So first, I'm going to show you guys step by step on what each line does. As you can see, I only have 45 lines of code, and I was able to update this Excel spreadsheet very easily using different Python packages. So very easy. So first you have to import 3 different packages. So Pandas, and I'm going to call it as PD, and Openpyxl, and OS, which is importing an OS package, but this is a standard library within Python, so you don't have to install this package. So I've created a function called automation. So in here, this is where all the work is being done happening, and I have this line called if statement, and I'm going to only run it if this is the main script. I'm going to explain this more later, but basically what it does is that even if you have this commented out like that, it should not run automatically, but I have this built in because I'm going to cover in the later example where I'll be pulling this different functions from different Python files. So don't worry about this for now, but I just have it just getting it started. So the first function in line 6 is just a print command. So it's going to print start automation. And in this line 9 and 10, I'm going to make a path variable using an OS path join. So what this does is that OS get current directory is getting the current directory of the file called summary 1223.2020, which is just the file that we looked at. And this is the rates path. This is the input path of the 1224.2020. So if you have the file saved somewhere else, you can change the path of this as you need. So in Mac, if you right click and if you clicked Alt, it enables you to copy as path name. So if you click that, you can, instead of get the current directory, you can just copy that in like that. But to make sure that it's a string, put that in and double quotation, single quotation, and I have an R in the front, and this lets Python know that this is going to be a raw string. But I don't have to do that. I can just simply call this. So I'm going to change this back as that. So once you set the path, now Python knows where to grab the files. So on line 13, I'm going to call Pandas, and I'm going to use a function called readExcel. So first I'm calling the path of this file and then the sheet name, and then make sure you have the engine set up to Openpyxl, and then I'm going to use the column index as the first column, which is the ears that we have in the input tab. And also, if you have it in the CSV file, it's much more simpler. So there's a function called readCSV, and all you need to do is have the file path name. But since I'm using an Excel file, I'm going to do that. So after we have that in, it's going to set the validate. And the way it does it is that it's going to, once we assign a data frame by reading the data from here, from the inputs. So I'm going to open, I think we have it open. So what it does is that it's going to capture this, and it's going to assign a data frame for this specific table. And what it does here is that it's going to set the ideation date, first column, and 12/24/2020, and I'm going to change the format of the date type to month, date, and year. So I'm going to run it and quickly show you guys what this code does. So I'm going to open the terminal window in here in VS Code, and I'm going to print what the data frame looks like and the validate, and I'm going to stop here. So in here, I'm just gonna run this. So way to call that is Python 3, and I'm going to run this specific file, so the Excel macro py. So if you type ex and press tab, it's going to automatically populate the name of the file. So this way you can reduce any unnecessary errors that you'll run into because of typos. So if you click that, so as you can see, it printed out a statement called start the automation, and first it printed out the data frame, which is the input that we have for 12/24/2020, and next it printed out the validate of 12/24/2020 in this format. So that's what we needed. So after that, we're going to open up the summary sheet. So the way to do that is that you're going to use load workbook from this Openpyxl, and you're going to set the file name as the original path, which is the 12/23/2020. So the reason why we, instead of using why didn't we use Pandas to open up this spreadsheet? So the reason why we used Openpyxl is to maintain the format of this spreadsheet. So as you can see, we have different tabs and we have different formats, and also we have an image here. So in order to maintain that, we have to make sure that we're going to use Openpyxl, because if we decided to use it to open it with Pandas, it's going to take more time. So in here, you're going to set the input sheet tab. So in the summary tab, brackets inputs, so it's going to assign an input sheet to this, and then B2 is going to set the validate equal to input sheet cell B2 value equal to validate. So as you can see, this will get updated to 12/24/2020, and next I'm going to assign called row max in order to loop through everything. So I'm going to assign the length of the data frames of the index. So basically what it does is that it's going to measure the length of these data frame. And I'm going to create a for loop starting from 0 to row max. And why I need this for loop is to loop through everything from 1 month to 30 years and copy it in to this specific cells. So as you can see, I'm going to assign input sheet cell, which I should be 0 in the beginning and 3. So I'm going to go down 9, row, and over 3. So always remember row first and then column. So that value is going to equal data frames, and this is called ilog. It's like a integer locate. So it's going to use this specific data frames, and it's going to assign going from 0, 0, and then go down 1 by 1 and copy it in to this specific cell, this specific table, right? Not too hard, right? So pretty straightforward. And also next I'm going to create a destination path, which is the same thing, os path join, and then get the current directory, and I'm going to save it as name it as summary, and then I have this curly brackets, and after that I have format brackets, open brackets, validate. So what this does is that it's going to assign in this curly bracket, Python knows that it's going to put in the validate into this open bracket. And as you can see, I also have an R in the front to assign it as a raw string file. So I think it's just a good practice to have it, just in case you run into any issues with Python not recognizing this as a string. And next, I'm going to save that workbook as summary workbook save. So as you can see, the summary workbook is the file that we just opened. And next, I'm going to have a print function to say that the workbook has been saved as from at this destination with this file name, and then print success. So if I run this, it's going to create a summary Excel spreadsheet with 12/24/2020. And I'm going to delete this. And let's run it and see if that works. So workbook saved at user David on desktop Python project, summary 12/24/2020 success. So let's see. And voila. So I'm going to open this up. And as you can see, validate was updated to 12/24/2020. And these are the rates that we need. And everything should flow through correctly, and the summary should have the validate of 12/24 and the PV as of all the cash flows as of 12/24. So I hope you guys found this useful and learned something out of it. As you can see, instead of using Excel, I was able to automate this in a very simple way. So I hope you guys found this useful, and if you have any questions, just let me know. And before I close out, let me see if I missed anything. Yeah, so if you have any manual work that can be automated, you guys can try to use Python instead of VBA. I think one of the best way to learn coding is by getting hands dirty with actual work. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.